I actually worked at Texas State. I was in their web design. I was on their web design team, I guess. For me, COVID-19 didn't really impact me all that much up until recently. I kind of got off work for spring break pretty normally. I had 2 weeks off, but then the day before spring break started, they had asked me not to come into work, and I had asked them. I was like, "Oh, I get it. That's fine. I'm cool with it. But why don't you want me coming into work?" And they dissolved all the student positions because of COVID-19. So I no longer have a position with them, unfortunately. But basically, what ended up happening is it started slow. They were like, "Hey, all part-time workers are going to be asked to stay home because they want to minimize the spread of infection or any risks or anything like that." So they just asked all the part-time workers to stay home. We still had a job, but just last week, I got an email from them telling me that they're no longer able to afford to pay student worker positions. So the university itself couldn't pay us, so they had to let us all go. Too that the school is kind of hurting too financially, because if they can't afford to pay their student workers and they pay us like what, below minimum wage sometimes. Yeah, I think one way to look at it is, there's kind of two ways to look at it. Either the economic crisis is gonna completely eclipse the virus itself. Some would argue that that would be a good thing, because if the economic crisis is worse than the virus crisis, then I guess we did something right. But others would argue that we're doing too much to slow the virus, and that's impacting businesses more than it needs to. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So personally, my biggest impact was just losing my job. I actually am really lucky. I had paid off my rent a few months in advance just because I just got into the habit of doing that. So I
Yeah.
happened to be up to date on most of my bills, up to date on my rent and stuff like that. So when all this came down and I lost my job, it affected me, as a consumer, but not necessarily my day to day. Short term, I'm just gonna focus on looking around at the job market, seeing what jobs will be safe to go after